Next, let's move on to the absorption of carbohydrates. How carbohydrates after the digestion they are absorbed into our body. Absorption occurs in the duodenum and upper jejunum. Glucose and galactose are absorbed at a faster rate. Glucose and galactose absorbed in a faster rate. Whereas absorption of glucose, it involves different mechanisms. Glucose is absorbed by different mechanisms. Absorption in the intestinal epithelial cells occurs by the carrier mediated transported mechanism, which is an energy dependent process. Absorption of glucose, it is taking place in the intestinal epithelial cells by carrier mediated transport mechanism. So there is a carrier for the transport mechanism. Carrier is carrier protein. It is the protein which is seen in the epithelial cells, which helps in the movement of the particles. So carrier protein mediated transport mechanism, and there is energy requirement. So it is an energy dependent process. Then co-transport is also occurring, a co-transport mechanism in which glucose is transported along with sodium ions. Another way of transport of this glucose is co-transport. That is, along with sodium ions, this glucose ion is also transported into the cells. So they are coming together. Sodium and glucose is coming into the cells together. It's a co-transport mechanism in which glucose is transported along with sodium ions. It is mediated by a carrier protein called as sodium dependent glucose transporter 1. Here the carrier protein is called as sodium dependent glucose transporter 1 because it is coming along with sodium. It carries two binding sites. This carrier protein, sodium dependent glucose transporter 1, that is a carrier protein. That carrier protein contains two binding sites, that is one for sodium and other one for glucose. Binding of sodium results in the conformational change in the carrier protein, which enables the binding up of glucose. So in this carrier protein, when sodium is getting bind upon to that, there is a conformational change occurring in that carrier protein, which is helping in the binding up of glucose. So binding up of sodium is enabling the binding up of glucose. So that is why they are transported together. Thus sodium diffuses into the cell, dragging glucose along with it. So along with sodium diffusion, there is glucose also coming along with it. Energy is indirectly provided by the ATP, since the re-entry of sodium in the lumen is an energy requiring active process. So where is the energy required? That is indirectly required, and it is provided by the ATP. Adenosine triphosphate is getting converted into ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and it is indirectly got by the sodium potassium movement. That is, entry of sodium into the lumen is an energy requiring active process. So here in this diagram you can see this is the sodium potassium ATPase, sodium potassium pump, ATPase pump. It is utilizing ATP. ATP is converted into ADP, adenosine triphosphate to adenosine diphosphate, for the transport of sodium and potassium. 3 sodium from the cytoplasm is getting towards the lumen. 3 sodium comes into the lumen. At the same time, 2 potassiums. 2 potassium ions is going from the lumen towards the cytoplasm. Sodium comes in, potassium goes out. This is a sodium potassium ATPase pump, which is utilizing ATP, energy from ATP. And this same sodium which is coming into the lumen is utilized by the sodium dependent glucose transporter. This is the sodium dependent glucose transporter, which is helping the transport of glucose along with sodium. Sodium and glucose is going towards the cytoplasm. They are going, there is a co-transporter, they are going together. There is a co-transport of glucose and sodium by the sodium dependent glucose transporter towards the cytoplasm. So here it is the indirect usage of ATP. ATP is utilized, or energy is utilized for the sodium to come towards the lumen, and that same sodium is utilized by the glucose to go outside the cytoplasm. So there is a indirect usage of energy in such transport. Sodium ATPase pump, it is pumping 3 sodium towards the lumen. At the same time 2 potassium ions is going out, and there is energy utilization, and this sodium is utilized by the sodium dependent glucose transporter carrier protein for the transport of glucose. Sodium and glucose co-transported towards the cytoplasm. So this is the reason why the oral rehydration fluid which we are giving during diarrhea, it is containing both glucose and sodium. Oral rehydration therapy used for the treatment of diarrhea makes use of oral rehydration fluid which contains both glucose and sodium. Because of the presence of this sodium, the absorption of glucose will be more. Only when there is adequate amount of sodium is there, the glucose is being absorbed accordingly. Presence of sodium in ORF facilitates the absorption of glucose in the intestine. Other transport mechanism is like the glucose transporters. Enterocytes carry some other glucose transporters. The transport of glucose into the bloodstream and to the peripheral tissue is conducted by some carriers called as glucose transporter, and they are sodium independent transporters. They are not depending upon sodium. They are sodium independent glucose transporters. They are named by glucose 1 to GLUT7, GLUT1 to GLUT7. GLUT1 to GLUT7 has been described in various tissues. This GLUT1 to GLUT7, they are present in different tissues, and out of this GLUT2 and GLUT4 are important. The glucose transporter named from 1 to 7. GLUT1, it is found in brain, kidney, colon, plasma, erythrocytes, etc. It helps in the uptake of glucose. GLUT2, liver, seen in liver, pancreatic, B cells, small intestine, kidney, helps in rapid uptake and release of glucose. GLUT3, found in brain, kidney, placenta, also helps in uptake of glucose. Then GLUT4, which is seen in heart, skeletal muscles and adipose tissue, is an insulin stimulated uptake of glucose. And GLUT5, it is seen in small intestine and spermatozoa, helps in the absorption of glucose poorly, and it is mainly in the transport of fructose. Then you have the sodium dependent unidirectional transporter that is found in small intestine and kidney. There is an active uptake of glucose from lumen of intestine and reabsorption of glucose in proximal tubule of the kidney against a concentration gradient. So how does this glucose transport mechanism work? Let's see. So it is also, since this glucose transporter is also a sodium dependent one, these along with 2 sodium, you can see 1 molecule of glucose is getting inside the epithelial cells. Glucose transporter is sodium dependent, so along with sodium, the 1 molecule of glucose is getting entered, and here you can see it enters, and this glucose is moving out from the epithelial cells by the glucose uniport GLUT-T24. Glucose is going, and here the sodium potassium pump. Sodium, 3 sodium goes out and 2 potassium comes in. This is the sodium glucose symporter, sodium dependent glucose transporter. Along with 2 sodium, 1 glucose molecule is going in, and here is the glucose uniporter GLUT2. Glucose is getting out, and here is the sodium potassium ATPase pump. Sodium is going out, potassium is coming in. So from the intestinal cells or intestinal lumen, 2 sodium is getting in along with 1 molecule of glucose, and this glucose is absorbed into the blood after passing into the epithelial cells through the GLUT2, that is glucose uniporter. Glucose is getting in, and sodium ATPase pump is pumping out sodium, and potassium is getting into the epithelial cells, sodium potassium pump. So this is how it is absorbed into the blood from the intestinal lumen. Then GLUT3 have high affinity for glucose, and GLUT4, which is seen in muscles and adipose tissue, it is an insulin dependent, and since it is insulin dependent, it is found to be decreased in type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, there is deficiency of insulin secretion. Insulin is not adequate. So since there is deficiency of insulin, there is this GLUT4 transporter is also found to be decreased in type 2 diabetes. Here is how the insulin dependent GLUT4 is working. So when in the blood the insulin is being released, there is an insulin receptor. This insulin is getting bind up by the insulin receptor. When there is no insulin, it is in the inactive form, and when insulin is released and it is binding upon to the insulin receptor, this insulin receptor is getting activated, and this activated insulin will send signals to the GLUT4 transporter. Only when there is signal transduction done, it will be activated. So this GLUT4 transporter will be activated, and it will help in the binding up of the glucose. Glucose is getting bind upon to it, and it is allowing the passage of glucose into the cell. From outside the cell, the glucose is getting bind up onto the GLUT4, and it is released into the cell, and glucose is utilized. Glucose is utilized for the energy purpose, for storage purpose, etc. Okay. The reason why it is insulin dependent is because only when insulin is released, the insulin receptors are getting activated upon its binding, and that sends signals for the GLUT4, and this GLUT4, once it is activated, the glucose can enter. It opens the pathway. The glucose is getting bind upon to the receptors to the GLUT4, and it is allowing it for it to come inside the cell, and the glucose is utilized by the cell. Then GLUT7 is seen in liver endoplasmic reticulum, ER it is seen. So that is with the absorption of glucose. Glucose is absorbed as a co-transporter along with sodium, then insulin dependent, and also with glucose transporters. So different forms glucose is being absorbed. Next, let's see the absorption of other sugars like D-fructose and D-mannose are absorbed by facilitated transporter, that is a carrier protein, and it does not require energy. D-fructose and D-mannose are absorbed by facilitated transport, which do not require energy, and it requires only a carrier protein. Then pentosis and L-glucose and galactose are absorbed passively by simple diffusion. Simply it is getting diffused into the cell. Okay, that's with the absorption. Okay, all right, thank you.